So today, we're diving into the mind of one of the most successful investors ever, Ray Dalio, and we're going to look at his secret to success. But here's the thing, his most important principle, it's probably not what you think. We're actually going to use some visuals from his own animated series to really get into it. And right off the bat, Dalio hits us with this total paradox. He says, whatever success I've had in life has more to do with my knowing how to deal with my not knowing than anything I know. I mean, think about that. This guy who has achieved so much is basically saying his superpower is knowing what he doesn't know. It's a pretty wild and honestly a really humble place to start. And that immediately makes you wonder, right? Okay, so if you don't really know much, then why are you telling us what to do? It's a totally fair question, and it's one Dalio actually answers head on. See, here's the thing he wants us to get. His goal isn't to give you the answers, not at all. He's passing on the principles, the framework that made him successful so that we can go out and achieve our own goals. It's less of a rule book and more of a roadmap, you know? He's sharing what worked for him. Okay, so let's get into the first big idea here, which he calls the call to adventure. And this isn't just some cool sounding phrase, it's really the core metaphor for his entire philosophy on life.
He says, time is like a river that carries us forward into encounters with reality that require us to make decisions. I just love that analogy. Think about it. We're all in this river of time. We're just being carried along. And along the way, reality, bam, hits you with things you have to deal with. And you have to make a choice.
So it really boils down to this three-step journey. 1, you're moving down the river of time. 2, you're going to face these encounters. They're inevitable. And 3, you've got to make decisions. You can't stop the river, and you can't avoid the encounters, but that third part, the decisions, that's all on you. And we're not just talking about a few big decisions here and there. We're talking about millions of them over a lifetime. And Dalio's whole point is that the quality of your life is really just the sum total of all those millions of tiny decisions you make along the way. All right, so if we're all floating down this river, constantly getting smacked with decisions, how do we get better at making them? Well, that brings us to the toolkit that Dalio built for himself. And that toolkit is all about principles. He defines them as smart ways for handling things that happen over and over again in similar situations. So these aren't just vague, feel-good ideas. They're practical tools. You see a pattern, you have a principle for it, you know how to handle it. And you can have principles for pretty much anything, right? Think about skiing or parenting or cooking. There are smart ways to handle things that come up again and again. So Dalia's big question is, why on earth wouldn't we do that for our lives? But here's the crucial part. You aren't just born with these principles. No way. You have to earn them. And you earn them by making mistakes and reflecting on those mistakes. It's that process of messing up, feeling that pain, and then thinking, okay, how do I not do that again? That's where a principle's born. So what happens when you do this? When you start turning painful mistakes into powerful principles? Well, that's where things start to get really interesting. I mean, look at Dalio's own story. He was just an ordinary kid, but what made him different was this loop he got into. He'd make a mistake, he'd reflect on it, he'd create a principle from it, and that cycle, repeated over and over, is what led to his incredible success. Ultimately, it comes down to this fundamental choice that we all face. Are you going to live a life directed by other people, just following conventions, avoiding risk, living the life someone else thinks you should? Or are you going to live a life directed by you, deciding for yourself what's best, having the courage to take risks, and living the life you actually choose? And when you choose that second path, the rewards are, well, they're huge. Yeah, you get the conventional success, the money and all that. But Dalio says what he values even more, what really matters, is having meaningful work and meaningful relationships. Okay, and this brings us to what I think is the most important part of this whole thing. Because now we're shifting the focus away from Ray Dalio and turning it on to you. Because here's the ultimate message. He says you have to be an independent thinker because only you can develop your own principles based on your own values. He doesn't want you to just blindly adopt his principles. He wants you to adopt his method, the process of thinking for yourself and building your own principles based on what matters to you. And that right there, that idea of being an independent thinker, that's his number one, most fundamental principle. It's the one that all the others are built on. So in the end, he's given us his map, but it's not our map. We're all on our own journey, in our own river. And the real challenge he leaves us with is this really powerful question. So, what is true for you? Figuring that out, that's your call to adventure.